So, about 2 years ago, almost to the date, I was attacked outside of a gay bar that I frequented simply because I acknowledge biological sex, that it is a real thing. For many months, I had been harassed by a group of people at this bar because I am a lesbian and I let it be known, that lesbian equals female homosexual, a woman who is attracted to other women, a female specifically who is attracted to other females. Well, they didn't like that. So after months of harassment, I finally lost it and called a woman who identifies as a man a woman. I called her a woman, and it made them so angry at me that they attacked me outside of the bar as I was leaving. I did file a police report. Nothing ever went through with that. The LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual community has taken a back seat in this day and age to the T, which stands for transgender. These people, transgender people and their allies, believe that biological sex is outdated science. They believe that sex is a spectrum, that sex is not just female and male and intersex, which intersex conditions rely on one being male or female. Certain intersex conditions happen to males and other conditions happen to females. So it's not that they're not male or female, it's just that they have a disorder. Anyway, they believe that that's outdated science, that we are all on the spectrum of biological sex, where we could be almost male or almost female or three. It's just crazy. I don't know all of the details of how they would explain it. But what it comes down to is that they believe that biological sex is outdated science. And this is harmful in many ways. So I would like to look at what transgender means exactly and the many ways that it is harmful. Transgenderism is a result of a mental illness called gender dysphoria. According to the American Psychiatric Association, gender dysphoria is the conflict of the mind between a person's physical sex and the gender that they identify with. Sometimes it occurs, sometimes women suffer with it because with gender dysphoria, not necessarily transgenderism, they don't necessarily trans themselves or transition, but they find they're uncomfortable in their bodies. It usually stems, honestly, from not liking the roles that are associated with one's sex. So, such as, if you're female, you're kind of expected to be submissive, right? You're supposed to be a housewife, probably. Even if you do work, you're supposed to clean and cook. You're supposed to like pink. You're supposed to be soft and cuddly and quiet all of the time and not really hold any opinions. Well, of course, a lot of women don't identify with that gender role, so they feel uncomfortable in the body that they are born into, in their body, their one and only body, and they may choose to transition to male as well as they can. Now, often females that transition to male pass better than males who transition to female, simply because of bone structure. Facial hair can hide the more round jaw of a female, etc., etc. I'm getting off topic here a little bit. So someone with gender dysphoria may choose to transition, which is when they become transgender, and usually it means dressing differently, wearing makeup if you're male. And it can mean going as far as SRS, which is sex reassignment surgery, which is a genital surgery. And some females choose to remove their breasts, as well as the genital reassignment surgery. Now, when they get SRS, males never have an actual vagina and females never have an actual penis. They do the best that they can down there, so we'll just make that clear. most trans people will tell you that it is not a mental disorder. It has been removed from the DSM, the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders, because due to stigma, if you ask me. I think mental illness in general has a lot of stigma attached to it, and of course they wouldn't want to be classified as a mental illness because they believe that it's a natural thing, but truly in its purest form, it is a mental illness. It's a conflict of the mind. It is a mental disorder. So now I would like to talk about how transgender ideology is misogynistic. In case you don't know, misogyny is the hatred of women. It doesn't have to mean literally I hate women. It's sexism. It is the oppression of women on the basis of sex. Transgender ideology enforces rigid, regressive gender roles, okay? Males who transition to be women wear dresses. They wear makeup. They grow their hair out. They attempt to look as feminine as possible. Well, the last time I checked, I don't often wear dresses. I don't often wear makeup. And yeah, I have long hair, but I'm simply too lazy to get it cut. And I'm still a woman. So the fact that these men who want to be women say, okay, well, I'm wearing a dress and makeup, so I'm a woman now. To me, that is very sexist, because many women don't wear dresses, hardly ever, if at all. Many women don't wear makeup. Some women get mistaken for men because their hair is so short, and from the back they look a little bit like a man because we like to assume that short hair means man. The push of these regressive gender roles by the transgender community is so regressive, and it's funny because they like to say that they're the progressive ones. But really, as a radical feminist, which is what I am, we get a lot of hate, but our idea is be a man, be a woman, be what you were born as, be what your chromosomes say you are, and dress and act and do whatever you want on top of it. If you're a man and you want to wear a dress and makeup and grow your hair out long and be beautiful in that way, do it. That's much more progressive, in my opinion, than saying I'm a woman because now I wear dresses, right? On the other flip side of that, you have the trans men, which are females who want to be male, who dress like men dress and act how men act. And they act like that makes them men. Well, that's very regressive. Just be a masculine woman. Just be a gender non-conforming woman. You don't have to say I'm a man just because you don't like the fact that men look at you the way they do. You don't have to say I'm a man because you don't love having to wear dresses. It's cool. Be a woman who doesn't wear dresses. That's totally great. That's way more progressive than saying, well, I don't like dresses, so I must be a man. Transgender ideology also silences women. I don't know if you remember the women's marches a few years back. 2016, so we're talking maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Everyone decided to wear these pink hats that have cat ears. They called them, pussy hats. Well, that got a lot of hate. We're not allowed to wear those because not all women have vaginas. And that is a big silencer on that was a women's march. We're talking 99.9% of women there were female, more than likely. And you're saying we can't wear hats that show that we're proud of our bodies the way they are? Not too long ago, about a month ago, J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, spoke up on Twitter about transgenderism and how it is harmful to women. And she was silenced with death threats, rape threats. Of course, they're burning her books. They love to burn books. That's progressive in itself. So she was silenced in a major way and is still receiving a lot of hate to this day just for saying, hey, biological sex is an experience. The female sex experience is real, and we are oppressed on the basis of our sex. We are oppressed because we are female. And saying that biological sex is fake is very misogynistic. It totally denies the existence of sex-based oppression. Also, I don't know if you've read anything recently, but that would maybe, any kind of reproductive article or anything like along those lines, they are using new terms for women, okay? You have trans women, and then you have menstruators, ovary havers, uterus bearers, breeders. I've seen women be called breeders. Heterosexual women, that is, for the most part. They are reterming the word. They're replacing the word woman with these extremely dehumanizing terms, such as menstruator, that they find is more progressive and more appropriate than just saying woman because, well, not all women menstruate and not all women have uteruses. And that's true because some women have diseases or disorders that cause them to have surgery to get their uterus removed. But if she wasn't a female, she would have never had a uterus to get removed. So it just, I don't appreciate being called a menstruator or a uterus bearer. I am a woman. I have 2 X chromosomes. I have the bone structure, the muscular structure of a woman, of a female. And woman means woman. Woman means adult human female, if you ask me. I also like this line that womanhood is subjective. That's the new thing they're saying too. Womanhood is subjective. So they can say, I'm a woman because I feel like a woman. But I can't say, and they're saying that's subjective, so that's why they are a woman. But if I say, well, I'm a woman because I'm an adult human female, then I am labeled a hateful bigot. So when they say womanhood is subjective, it's not true. They're lying because they don't see it as subjective. They see it as their definition, which is anyone who feels like a woman. So if you're feeling extra pink today, you might be a woman today. Just saying. There's also this idea of cis privilege now, or cis privilege. I'm not really sure if it's a s or a z. I haven't explained to you what cis is. So cis is anyone. So if you're trans, you don't identify with your sex. If you are cis, then you do identify with your sex. So the opposite of trans. So that they would call me a cis woman because I was born female and I identify with womanhood, with being a female. Now, this is where it gets funny. Cis privilege, okay? Cis privilege is the privilege that we as cis women have because we were born women, because we were assigned female at birth. Well, let me ask you, what privileges on the basis of sex, on the basis of male and female, okay? What privileges do cis women, do women-born women, do female adult humans have over any male human, whether he be in a dress or not? There's no such thing as cis privileged for women, okay? Especially. Sex-based oppression is based on sex, as it would be, and it means that women are oppressed because they are female. Women equals adult human female, and women are oppressed on the basis of sex. You cannot be privileged and oppressed on the same axis. So if women are oppressed on the basis of sex, they can't also be privileged on the same basis of oppression. It's impossible. So to say that we are cis and that we identify with the gender role of woman is to say that we identify with our oppression, which is incredibly, incredibly insulting. I do not identify with my oppression. I don't identify with being the sex that is usually raped. I don't identify with the sex that has their genitals mutilated at childbirth or at a young age in many countries. I don't identify with the sex that is expected to clean and cook and work now and run the whole household and be soft and submissive and like the color pink and always wear makeup and keep my hair long and do this and that. I don't identify with the gender role that has been assigned to me because I am female. Therefore, I don't identify with my oppression, and therefore I have no cis privilege. On top of being misogynistic, trans ideology is homophobic. And oh, as a gay woman, these two things just really irk me. It really gets to me. Trans ideology is now claiming that homosexuality, which means that at the same time, heterosexuality too, but they claim that homosexuality is transphobic. They claim that, so they expect a trans woman, a male who wants to be a woman, expects to be seen as a female in this day and age. They are no longer acknowledging that they are of the male sex. They expect to be seen as female. Therefore, they say that genital or body preferences in sexuality are transphobic. They aren't okay. So if you're not attracted to... So if you say you're attracted to women, but you're not attracted to that man in a dress that has a penis, you are transphobic because homosexuality, same sex, or even singularly opposite sex attraction is not okay any longer. We must unlearn our sexuality, unlearn our preferences. We must become comfortable with both bodies, male and female, because the human species is dimorphic. And we must become comfortable with having sexual and romantic relations with bodies of the opposite sex if you're gay and the same sex if you're straight. You must now learn to accept and be attracted to these other bodies that you were never attracted to, because attraction is natural and based on biological sex. Given sexuality, it's now not okay. You must unlearn your sexuality and you must be attracted to parts, not parts. They are also redefining, much like they redefined the word woman, they are now redefining lesbian and gay man. Lesbian and gay, they've totally redefined. Lesbian is a woman, and you're going to hear this and you're going to be confused because it sounds normal. A woman attracted to women only, right? Well, while that sounds normal to you, what they mean is that a lesbian is anyone who identifies as a woman and is attracted to anyone who identifies as a woman. So no longer is a lesbian a homosexual female, a female only attracted to other females, but this is a woman, anyone who identifies as a woman who is attracted to anyone who identifies as a woman. Okay, so we're talking this man in a dress who's attracted to this other man in a dress, or who is attracted to a cis woman, a female, can be a lesbian. Same goes for gay men. Okay? A gay man is what? A homosexual male, or a man who only likes men. Well, now it's a man who only likes men, but it's anyone who identifies as a man who is attracted to anyone who identifies as a man. So this woman who calls herself a man can now be a gay man by their logic. I literally saw a profile the other day of a male, very clearly male too, not even doing the whole I'm in a dress and my hair's long and I'm wearing makeup thing. I mean, actually just a gender conforming male who had on his bio a lesbian trapped in a man's body. Which used to be like a joke amongst straight men, I'm pretty sure. Like, ha ha ha, I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body. But no, this guy was totally serious and I nearly threw up. We can now conclude with the homophobia of transgender ideology with the fact that homosexuality is now offensive. Even in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says sometimes offensive or often offensive or something now before you read the definition of homosexuality, because implying that you're homosexual means same sex, and acknowledging biological sex is now problematic. So I did want to touch on one more thing. I called myself a radical feminist earlier, but there's actually a term thrown at radical feminists. It's TERF. It's TERF. It stands for Trans Exclusive Radical Feminist, even though we're not technically trans exclusive, because we do include all females in our feminism, as we should, including trans men or females that want to be men. So that's the hateful term they use for us. And then there's a TIM, I guess is how you would say it, TEHM, which is trans exclusive homosexual male. So that's the term for gay men who acknowledge biological sex. So you'll see those thrown around hatefully, usually with some rape threats or death threats or, anything along those lines. My last point that I would like to discuss is that trans ideology is racist. They like to call radical feminism white feminism, okay? There is such a thing as white feminism. As a white woman, I've seen it, and I'm sure that every woman of color that I know and that I don't know has seen it too. White feminism is a real thing, okay? White feminism is feminism that excludes the problems and overlooks the issues that women of color deal with because they're women of color, okay? It's an important thing to acknowledge. It's an important thing to do away with, white feminism is. But this white feminism that trans activists call us. They call us white feminists, us radical feminists, because they say that they like to compare women of color to trans women. They like to act like biological sex was a white invention. They like to compare, they like to say that some women of color, especially black women, have male-like features that make them more like trans women because trans women are male and have male features, even though that's just plain racism. They also like to compare that black women with trans women by saying that at one point black women had their own bathrooms and that was wrong, which is absolutely true. But black women are females. Black women are not different from white women in any aspect. Trans women are males and therefore should not be allowed in a female restroom. They should either use the men's bathroom or have their own, because they still pose a threat to females. Acting like black women and black culture or other cultures of color don't recognize biological sex and don't have sex-based oppression is racist, point blank. In conclusion, I may not win you over right now, but I've been studying radical feminism now since 2011, so we're talking 9 years. I was never a liberal feminist, which is the include trans women in your feminism. And so I'm very passionate about this subject. I would like to devote part of my life's work to this subject. I only see it getting worse at first. So all I'm saying is saying women are female really worse than saying I am a woman because I feel like a woman? Doesn't that imply, if you say I am a woman because I feel like a woman, does that not imply that all women feel the same way? Doesn't that imply that there might be a female brain, which, by the way, has been debunked many times by science? Isn't saying women are always feminine misogynistic? Does a dress and makeup make someone a woman? I don't think so. I know a lot of women who don't wear dresses or makeup, or only wear dresses and makeup sometimes, and they're still women. It would be much more progressive if these trans-identified males would just be feminine men. That would be true gender abolition. That would be the right way to override and do away with gender roles. Would be to just be a man in a dress, not to be a man in a dress and say, I am a woman because I'm in this dress. Isn't literally calling homosexuality transphobic extremely homophobic? To say that homosexual people, and even heterosexual people, can't have preferences, it's natural to be attracted to who you're attracted to, and sexual attraction is based on sex. Is it not equivalent to conversion therapy to try to get lesbians to like men? To try to get gay men to like women? Even though they're dressed as the opposite sex? And is it not extremely racist to equate black women to men in dresses? I sure think so. I think it's very racist. I think that transgender ideology is extremely woman-hating, homophobic, and racist. And I will never stop fighting for and prioritizing women.